Okay, thank you. All right, first of all, thank you so much everyone for joining our webinar tonight in a very interesting topic of Asia's real estate outlook. And we are going to focus on the strategy, risk, and also for many students who are with us tonight on career insights. So this session is co-hosted by SMU, Singapore Management University. So thank you, Victor from the Career Center, who helped us organize from the Singapore side, and also by SIMCO Solutions, my company. So thank you, Nicole, my colleague Nicole, who set this up. So tonight we are going to have very simple rundown. So basically, we are going to first allow me to have some time to introduce our panelists, the speakers who have agreed to spend their precious time with us tonight and answer any questions we may have. We have already prepared quite a number of interesting questions for the panel discussions. And at the end, obviously, we also would have a Q&A session. We'll open the floor for any participants got any questions for any speakers, and then we'll address your question. So for the first part would be, so let me introduce our speakers, our panelists. So the first speaker, the first panelist is Professor Desmond Tsang. So Professor Tsang is actually an associate professor of real estate at the School of Hotel and Tourism Management at CHK, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. He's also a co-director of the Center for Hospitality and Real Estate Research in CUHK Business School. So Professor Zhang actually got his PhD in real estate and accounting from UC Berkeley and studied his master's degree and bachelor degree in Toronto from Rodman School of Management, U of T. He has published quite a number of very interesting research papers, and tonight we are going to ask him about any research insights on the topic in Asia, in Mainland China, in Hong Kong's real estate market. So please join me to thank Professor Zhang for his precious time. Next, Mr. Ted Wong. So Mr. Ted Wong is actually at the moment the SVP for China Operations, CFO, and ComSec at Top Spring International Holdings, a Hong Kong listed real estate company with both property development projects in Hong Kong and Mainland China. So Mr. Wong has been doing all the financing, multi-billion-dollar financing deals, and also driving market capitalization growth. He actually got a master's degree in corporate governance from PolyU in Hong Kong, and he graduated from UBC in Canada, in Vancouver. He is a chartered accountant and also Governance Institute, qualified accountant, and also a CPA. Okay, so please join me in welcoming Mr. Wong. And then Dr. Ferdinand Sadeli. So Dr. Sadeli is the Deputy Group CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Cinemas Land, giants in the Southeast Asian property developing and also real estate market. He is a director and investment committee member of Plaza Indonesia. He's also teaching, so he is a very good facilitator and actually recognized as the best CFO and also the best facilitator in Indonesia and in Southeast Asia. So tonight, he is going to share a lot of insights about the ASEAN country, the real estate market in Indonesia and the Southeast Asia with us. So thank you so much for your time, Dr. Sadeli. And lastly, about myself, so I am Anthony. So I am currently a corporate trainer, lecturer, and I'm doing research on leadership in Mainland China, in Hong Kong, and across Asia. So by trade, I am an HR person. Now I'm full-time doing my research and also teaching. And I'm very happy to be able to have the chance to moderate the session tonight. So thank you so much for your time. And I understand that participants would have questions. Okay, so please feel free to submit any questions you may have by scanning the QR code. Maybe you can just scan it or take a picture of the QR code on screen. And Nicole has just sent the link to the chat room, so you can also click the link in the chat in order to submit any question you may have. And you can also tell us that, okay, which speakers or panelists you would like to address your question. So we have time limit for sure, but if we'll try our very best to cover any questions you may have. Okay, so feel free to submit any questions. So I think it's the exciting time. So we are going to have our panel discussion now. We have already prepared a number of questions that would be very interesting for every one of us, and therefore let's cover the questions we have prepared first. So the first question is a question that I really would love to hear if Dr. Sadeli has any insight for us. So people are telling me actually they will pay more attention to the ASEAN countries in terms of real estate investment. So what specific investment opportunities do you think investors should pay attention to in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia or other countries? Dr. Sadeli, please.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Anthony. Hello, everyone. Southeast Asia has 11 different countries, and definitely every country has a different characteristic. My company is in Amaslan, one of the largest in Southeast Asia. We are the largest in Indonesia. We have investment into 8 different countries, 3 of them in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia. I think as you can see that, country populations grow quite fast. Then definitely, if you're talking about investment opportunities, I think it's quite general that people will say residential is a good investment opportunities. But I think apart from the residential, we see quite a thematic real estate sector. As probably you can see that real estate has expanded quite, dramatically in the past 20 years. 20 years ago, not many people are talking about PBSA, purpose-built student accommodations. 20 years ago, in terms of the logistic, I think it's still quite traditional. However, the real estate sector evolved quite significantly. Then you can see that in the past 10 years, a new subsector like data center, then cold storage, getting popular and popular. Then if you're looking into the country by country per se, I think we look it into, say for example, like Bali. I'm sure that you guys familiar with Bali. Now I think in Bali, that the high-end or luxury hospitality becoming a very popular. Then of course, there's still some opportunities in that sector. Then if you're looking into Singapore, I think apart from the residential, of course, the price PSF is still keep increasing. Apart from that, that co-living sector, I think, is something that getting quite a lot of attention since that, some people cannot afford, to live in Singapore. Then data center and also medical tourism is something that is quite interesting in Malaysia, and also that like wellness tourism in Thailand. So I think what we're trying to say here that we really need to do a deep research to understand the demography, understand the customer behavior and also lifestyle, to find those pocket universities. Yeah, so I think if by looking into just only a simple data, then getting quite difficult. Then I think I highly recommend that, for everyone looking into real estate sectors, apart from data, then you have to experience yourself. You have to stay, in those countries, understand, what is really the customer require. Then we can really take the opportunity from there. Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadeli. So very clear message that okay, there are potential both on the residential side and commercial side, but you can't just listen to someone. You will have to get really to the ground and really explore personally. So a follow-up question is, you mentioned a few countries like Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, etc. So for investors from outside who really have quite little knowledge about the local, about the Southeast Asia country. So which would be the go-to countries or go-to market would you recommend? Okay, people like me, like my friends, primarily working in the last decades in Hong Kong and mainland China with very minimal understanding about the Southeast Asian country. Which countries would you recommend us to go to?
I think real estate definitely has a different way of doing business. And you know that local regulations in every country is totally different. Then I think the best is number one is understand what is your long-term objective first. Then once you understand that your long-term objective, whether that you're gonna be there for like 5 years, you're gonna be there for like 10 years, that I think will define your strategy. Then if you want to get the exposures, into the local context, once you decide the country that you want to focus on, you need to work with the local people. Yeah, because at the end of the day, real estate is like a local business. Like I mentioned earlier, that you really need to stay there for a while to understand, in more detail. And then I think since the real estate, is not like a trading business, then I think I highly recommend that you really need to work with the strong partners, locally, either like, the largest in terms of the exposure or the largest in terms of the consultancy or the big firms that, that's to help you facilitate the discussions. Yeah, then I think your learning curve, I think, is even faster. Yeah, when you work together with the good names. Yeah, so I think I highly recommend that really come and see the place. Seeing is believing. Yeah, and because you cannot see, based on the paper. That's the unfortunate, because a lot of people, just only looking into real estate by calculating the numbers. Real estate, it cannot be like that. You really need to understand the locations and the surroundings. Yeah, I always say that the key important metrics for the real estate is the ICA. I think for some Singaporean, maybe quite familiar with those things. Yeah, but the ICA here is the stand for like infrastructures, communities, and the amenities. Those three I think are quite critical in determining the value of the properties. Yeah, and then you really need to be on the ground, yeah, to understand those things.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sadeli. So let me actually that's bring us to a very relevant discussion about research or numbers, because Professor Tsang has been doing research in this space, in the space of real estate. And obviously, like Dr. Sadeli mentioned, it's not only because of the number. Okay, the number will give us some insight or indication of where to go, but we really have to be there to experience it, to feel it, and to assess it on the ground. And only from your research, Professor Zhang, any indication, okay, for investors now are kind of struggling to find new market to invest in terms of real estate. So is there anything that you can share with us?
Thank you very much. And first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to this webinar. It's my honor to be here today. So maybe I would first touch on the mainland Chinese market as well as the Hong Kong market, because these are the two markets that I have done more research on. Tonight I'm actually learning from our other speakers in the other Asian markets, with the real estate markets that are very different, even within the region. So basically, what I want to say is, I guess many people already kind of know the Chinese real estate markets has not been doing that well. One research I have done that we looked into the past couple of years was that I don't know if someone has heard of the terms called free red line, 三条红线. Basically, is a big change that was exercised a couple years ago by the Chinese government in order to regulate the Chinese real estate property sector. And what they did in a nutshell is that they set out some stricter rules in terms of refinancing and financing for the property developers. And as a result of that, we have seen a lot of crisis in the Chinese property sectors for that reason, because a lot of property developers at that time were not able to meet with these stricter requirements. So we see a lot of turmoil. But the good way to think about this is because of what we had seen a couple years ago. Actually, it actually drove out a lot of kind of bad apples, meaning they're not as strong real estate firms. So in terms of the Chinese real estate market, I'm actually more hopeful than before, because when the crisis came, it was the time that I joined Chinese U, and then we can see a big crisis. And then also coming back to the student side, we can see that students are concerned whether they should still pursue real estate per se, right? But I do see a glimpse of light here now that we have less unhealthy real estate firms in the Chinese region. And these firms that are left with, they are stronger, and they carry on with a lot of the projects in mainland China right now. Having said that, the Hong Kong market is still kind of struggling, and that leads to my other thing I want to talk about, which is also related to another side of research. And other research that I do is related to human mobility. And what we do is, in a very simple terms, we look at how people come and go using different mobility data, so that we can track. We don't know the people, but we can track whether those places are with a lot of flows in terms of human mobility. And what we have seen is the major getting hurt parts or sectors is the hardest hit sectors. They are actually the offices and the retail. And with our research paper that was on the US, but my feeling is that it would be almost the same thing in many places, is that even after the pandemic, these human mobilities have not come back and return in many of the retail and office locations. I think in Hong Kong, slightly better. But we have other reasons. But in general, a lot of situations are happening, such as working from home. I know many Asian countries are adopting working from home, maybe not as serious as somewhere like the United States, but still, that would hurt the office rental rate per se. And also for retail, well, since the pandemic, we all have a new way of shopping, right? So for that reason, retail shopping malls are also the hardest hit areas. And we actually get to show it and confirm it with the data that this human mobility flow actually is one of the driving factors nowadays that actually makes some sectors being less prosperous than some others. But having said that, I agree with Dr. Sadeli. I think residential sector still has, well, people need a place to live, right? It's always going to be stable, more stable, okay, relatively stable per se, and strong. And also, even within the office sector, that's the third research that I want to touch on this. Now I'm very interested, like Anthony, I'm interested in ESG as well. So I started looking at ESG buildings and then also the features on the ESG buildings. So what we find is that for the Hong Kong Singapore market, basically if you have a ESG certified building and also with the LEED or WELL features, they actually are performing better. So even after I say that, well, the office sectors may not be doing as well, there are still some buildings that can outperform some others. And these buildings are the ones, it's like human, right? If you can actually move on with the world and actually adapt to the technologies and the ESG features, these buildings would be able to still perform better.
Oh, that's an interesting finding because in the commercial sector, right or wrong, many business people are seeing the discussion of sustainability or ESG being a costly, add to cost rather than bring more attractiveness to investment, right? So, Professor Zhang, your research is actually the other way around, right? It's like even more attractive to investor for buildings or real estate with a sustainability feature. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, I just presented these findings a couple months ago in Hong Kong at the Hong Kong Convention Center. And I think the general consensus is that ESG is very costly. And then the industry practitioners, who are basically the building owners and the facility managers, okay, they actually are having kind of like a debate because the facility managers want good, better buildings, right? But at the same time, they do need evidence to show that these buildings are in fact better. And besides just my own research, I have seen a lot of research now trying to show, and they have started to show that these better buildings, even they're costlier, they are able to charge higher rents.
Wow, that's a good news. Okay, or to me, okay. So thank you, Professor Zhang. So let me move on to the next question because we have Mr. Wong here tonight. So Mr. Wong, so Professor Zhang mentioned that he actually had seen some good sign, okay, out of the the worst time in the recent memories for the Hong Kong and mainland China real estate market, and many others have shown very pessimistic mood about this industry in Hong Kong and mainland China. So do you really see any light at the end of the tunnel?
Um, the real estate markets in Hong Kong and China face challenges, but also offer opportunities. Interest rate in Hong Kong is relatively high right now. It's like HIBOR is at 4 to 5%. But then recently, the United States, there's a rate cut of a quarter, 0.25%, and we expect more. The interest rate will decrease more in the future, maybe 1% in the coming 12 months. And the sales of the property is strongly related to interest rate. People buy home with a mortgage. So if the finance cost decrease, they can buy the burden is decreased as well, right? And for the developer, and then we kind of pledge the land and then to obtain a loan, right? So if the finance cost decrease and um, reduce the pressure of the developers, and then population inflow from talent schemes also support housing demand in Hong Kong. But in China, the outlook is tougher. Youth unemployment rate, a low birth rate, reduced household formation. And we observed that the home prices fell 2.5% YOY in August 2025. And the rental yield in China is only 1 to 2%. It make renting more attractive than buying. But yet, government stimulus like RMB 500 billion for unsold inventory offers hope for stabilization by late 2026. So we observe there's a rebound, and then we hope that the market will get well soon in the coming 12 months. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. So you meaning that you also from the practice side you see some signs of recovery, but the recovery is still very small and slow, right? In particularly in mainland China, as you said, that basically YOY year on year a drop of 2.5%. It's already at the back of huge decline in industry over the past couple of years or even more, right? Longer, meaning that it's still not we are not yet past the worst. Would you say that in mainland China and Hong
Oh,
Kong?
we have not passed it. The purchasing power and PLC is still very weak, and
Mm.
then is for those young, they graduated from university, they rather to rent a place than buying a home. So the rental, I mean, the investment property would be better than the commodity property side, but still is very weak. And the non-performing loan for bank, the amount is huge. So we do not observe any getting better signal right now in PRC, but Hong Kong is better.
Okay. So I will come back to you on a follow-up question later on. So thank you, Mr. Wong. So let me go back to my slides. Okay. Actually, Mr. Wong's answers to my question brought me back to Southeast Asia, and that's why, I've been talking with a lot of friends who actually have been investing and de-investing in the property market in mainland China and Hong Kong, and they actually have been struggling. They don't know where they should put their money on. Okay, some of them are saying that okay, maybe technology, etc. But technology is not for everyone, right? It's not like that. You have an interest. You would like to invest in something. You can buy the next unicorn. It's not like that, and therefore many of them are still going back to their roots, and they have been the whole family, the wealth, how they accumulated their wealth is based on property and real estate, and that's why they are asking me if is there any insight or like Dr. Sadeli mentioned, you have to be there, you have to experience it, and you have to engage experts on the ground. So Dr. Sadeli, in your point of view, so in the Southeast Asian real estate market, particularly in Indonesia, in the upcoming year, what are the key challenges? What are the key things that, okay, opportunities, threats, or challenges that you can bring us some insight?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wong. I think I would like to also, agree on what Professor Desmond mentioned earlier about the sustainability. I think in our case, when you sell the product with the sustainability concept, I think the younger generations looks more appealing, particularly than when you're talking about environmental and the social impact. So probably I think I would like to highlight here from our own development. So we introduced the concept of maybe I give you a simple example like this. If the first space is meaning within your homes, the second space is within your cluster or within your building, then the third space is the concept of when you hang out with your friends or when you hang out with your families, within a certain kilometers of your premises. Then we understand, I think, the concept of the third space. Meaning that how do you hang out with your neighbor? How do you, engage with your friends? Yeah. Then when you're talking about the challenge here and there, I think the biggest problem in Indonesia is about the infrastructure's development. Probably we are still lag behind compared to other neighborhood countries. Yeah, we just have our first MRT back in 2019. Then, as you know, that real estate sector in terms of the value highly correlated with the infrastructure's development. Then probably that I can highlight that's one of the biggest challenge, that we face it. Second biggest challenge is the technology adoption. Yeah, as you know that, of course that we understand that the market in China and Hong Kong, extremely unfavorable at this moment. We also have a few investment in China, by the way, in a few cities in China since past maybe 15, 20 years. But we understand that the AI adoption in China, is so fast and so amazing, because we know that the role of the AI development basically, is to improve the quality of life, having that, better quality of life. Then the technology adoption in Indonesia pretty much still at the, lag behind, definitely, compared to our neighborhood countries. But that create some opportunities, of course. Then, if what we understand what will be the future infrastructure, we understand that, those kind of the technology AI adoptions, then we see that we can improve those, efficiencies and productivities. Yeah. The third challenge that probably I can highlight to you, like I mentioned earlier, is about the sustainability mindset. Yeah. Like I said, that agreed that, sustainability is something that, we can bring a lot of values, but still some people view it, as a costly investment. I think I would like to connect more, I think, with Professor Desmond, that, we need to, what you call it, educate the market that, the sustainability, I think, in the long run, actually is a very good for the community. Yeah. So that's probably, those big challenges that I can share with you. Back to you, Dr. Anthony.
Thank you, Dr. Sadeli. So a follow-up question is, as you mentioned, so there are many opportunities, but the challenges would be on the technology advancement, sustainability side, and on infrastructure as well as on the buildings themselves. And my question is, Mainland China, Hong Kong, etc., and even Singapore had been, exporting expertise. Like the high-speed train, we call MTR, and like MRT in Singapore, and also the green buildings, etc. So there are many, experiences or technologies that can actually be, transferred. I mean, the knowledge, the know-how, and even manpower expertise can be transferred. Do you see the development of Southeast Asian countries, including like Indonesia, open the door for property developers with the experience, with academias like Professor Zhang, etc., to really come and try to contribute to expedite the growth in Southeast Asian countries?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because that since China, pioneer in those segments, yeah, definitely that if we can work together with the Southeast Asian players, that's for sure that's gonna be beneficial. But I think before that, there is no real estate school per se, in Indonesia, and there are not many real estate school in Southeast Asia anyway. Yeah. Then, like Professor Desmond Tsang, definitely, is going to be getting popular than if you move to the Southeast Asia, because we still need a lot of things to learn. Then, of course, like, Hong Kong is a few years ahead in terms of all those things. I think that if they can do the transfer of the knowledge, and also that they can co-invest together with us, for sure, a lot of opportunities, available in Southeast Asia.
Thank you, Dr. Sadeli. So that's a good news. Yeah, for me, for Mr. Wong, for Professor Zhang, and for many students and participants on this call. So we will talk about that later on. Okay. So the next question would be, back to Mr. Wong. I would like to understand. Okay, as you highlighted the interest rate is still very high, right? Especially comparing to maybe 5 or 6 years ago, when the interest rate was so low, and therefore, even for ordinary people like me, in those days, if I want to invest in a property, it's way easier than today. Okay, so what are the financing challenges that property developers are facing in Hong Kong and Mainland China now? And how are you navigating it as the CFO of a property developer?
Yes, good question. Property developers in Hong Kong and China face significant financing challenges due to high debt and tight liquidity. In Hong Kong, the HIBOR is like 4 to 5%, and banks. I guess I think a lot of you guys have heard that the Evergrande bankruptcy, right? And New World, a typical traditional Hong Kong company. We heard rumors about they're gonna go bankruptcy, right? But then banks are very cautious right now. Their non-performing loans is like approximately 7% in Q2 2025. And in mainland China, it's even worse. High leverage, weak sales, strained cash flows. And also the rental yield and PLC is very low. It's just 1 to 2% earning. It further deters investment. So to navigate this, developers are diversifying funding, such as offshore bonds and fixed rate loans. And most company will find it very difficult to obtain financing, and we do asset sell it at deep discount to solve the liquidity problem. If we sell the company at the same time, so we sell the asset, we also sell the loan as well. So it's like we reduce the liability and then we obtain some sales when we do a asset sell at deep discount. But of course, the company will obtain some losses if we do asset sales. So that's the only way we can do, because banks are very cautious in doing a loan to developers. Yeah.
Yeah. In the last 3 months, at least three friends were telling me that some small scale property developers, they were it's in the middle. They were in the middle of building some residential complex. Not a lot. It's like 100 to 200 apartments, and they struggle to even pay the not the debts but the interest of the debt. And therefore, they need to find cash. They need to use the whole complex as a collateral to borrow money in order to just sustain. Okay, and that brings me to the next question for Professor Zhang, because because of this, it's quite scary. Okay, many investors they feel that it's real estate in Hong Kong, particularly, is something that they should not touch. Okay, and some of the small scale property developer even told me that after right after finishing this project, they will never touch it again. Okay, I'll just go away and shift their investment elsewhere. Okay, what do you think? Other than like the Mr. Wong has said that it's interest rate, and I see it like some bubbles in the past. And what are the other factors? Maybe birth rate or the change of the will of people's buying property, etc. What contribute to the shift, or do you see the shift, Professor Zhang?
Well, of course, we always see the shift, right? I agree with Mr. Wong. I try to be more positive because I'm a professor teaching real estate. So I always try to see with not very good market at this moment, where are some of the subsectors things can be slightly better, right? So I think like to answer first your questions, where do we see the investment drifting away? Like I do see the investment drifting away, but I do see there I'm a little bit more positive in the sense that I think we have seen a lot of bad things happening already. But you do see some sectors. So that's what I'm saying is like maybe the big picture is interest rate is still high and things are still difficult. But let's say for Hong Kong, we can see that people are investing in some of the sectors, namely, for example, student housing, and specialist sectors such as elderly care facilities, right? So even in general, the real estate market is not as good, but I always believe there's always some opportunities in some ways, right? Like Dr. Sadeli and I have mentioned, even the office sectors is bad, but still, we have seen that if you have a good building, so basically if your product is good, you should still be able to manage to do better. And I also want to highlight one thing from the history. So we have seen the global financial crisis back in 2008 to 10. And then what we have learned from that lesson is even the situation was very bad at that time for the real estate sector in the US. But what we have observed is that real estate money did not just leave real estate. Of course, some did, right? But we have seen a lot of flight to quality at that crisis, meaning they actually stay in real estate. But instead of sticking with the same companies and the same projects, they actually would resort to projects and companies that are deemed as high quality and safer. And then we did see that in the last crisis. And I guess we always still need real estate. Maybe like Mr. Wong said, we are under challenge, and maybe the percentage of investments would be lower, but there could always be a part of a proportion of the portfolio devoted to our sector.
Thank you.
I
Thank
try
you.
to give it more optimistic for the audience and our students, basically.
Yeah. Well, we need houses and apartments to live. So I'm sure. Yeah, but it's just that many property developers are also saying that the government. Okay, I'm having a deeper dive into a Hong Kong situation, and many property developers believe that the government is not doing enough, or is actually not doing them a favor in showing them a way out from the current situation. What do you think, Professor Zhang?
I think it's a difficult situation to handle for all parties. There are a lot of political issues to be solved. And yeah, so I guess with selling real estate, that could be challenging. And I think the government can do more, but I also don't think it's easy to do more. At the same time, I do see there's still demand on some sectors because as a professor myself, I do see how much our students are paying for the real estate in Hong Kong, right? Um, a personal story. Even in the old days when China was having a way stronger economy, people would just come in with just cash, and then the parents would buy for the children, right? And then they come to Hong Kong to study. But now they could not do that as much. But still, we see a lot of students. The parents are sponsoring them for very high rents, right? So I think there's always demand there at very resilient cities like Hong Kong, Singapore, Bangkok, etc. It's just that the market demand changes faster than sometimes we expected, and then we need to find ways to kind of survive and adapt to the environment. And sometimes you want the government to help, but government is also sometimes slow to react. When they react, maybe the next trend is already on, as we have seen in many, many examples.
Thank you. Yeah. There is actually a question in the Q&A saying that, for instance, in Singapore, there are already finished projects. It's just staying there dry and high, and no one is asking them what to do with the properties. They just put them there, okay? As there's no demand, or the private price is not meeting the expectation, etc. And the same for mainland China, same for Hong Kong. So I would like to ask Dr. Sadeli and Mr. Wong, okay, in such situation, if it's under your management, or you need to give an advice to the owner of the developer of the development. So what should they do? Should they just wait, or any other thing that you think they should do?
I think I don't really like it a status quo. Yeah, I think I prefer that we understand what's the customer requirement, understand what the market really needs. So I think what I'm gonna do if I were in that situations, that I try to reposition the property. We talk about that the office market that is quite challenging, is oversupply in the selected cities. Then we experience the same thing as well. So I think I prefer that we do like a conversion play. So we convert like whatever office into a multifamily, office into a hotel. That's what I plan to do. Yeah. Then Another than that, if we think that the market is really turning south, then maybe we just need to do a cut loss, yeah, because probably we catch at the wrong time and all those things. So I think that except that we think that the market can be back within, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 years. But if you think that the market you need to wait quite some times, then better you cut loss. Then at the end of the day, better that you can utilize the money to any other project deploy there, then move on. Yeah, that's probably, I think, my two comments on that one.
Thank you, Dr. Sadeli. Mr. Wong?
It depends if the company is cash rich and if they can think of a restructuring plan and then they can afford restructuring the building. I totally agree to move to another angle and then rebuild it and redesign it. But if the company is short of cash, I would suggest them to sell it at deep discount or just leave it to the bank and then let them take it. And that's sort of like a cut loss situation, so that the company, the group can still survive without that company. So that's my recommendation.
Yeah. So just to share with you guys that Nicole and myself, we have been supporting different universities and especially those who actually mainly coming from mainland China, okay, and study in Hong Kong. And there are many agencies who have encouraged property developers who have like finished projects, unoccupied apartments, etc., to convert the use into a student apartment. So it's kind of a trend to at least to help them to continue rather than to sell it at a huge loss. So okay, many different ways, like Dr. Sadali mentioned. Some involve more investment, some involve smaller investment, and some blessing from the government. So we different people are finding different ways. Okay, so thank you. As we actually have quite a number of students here, and there are some questions about how students can equip themselves for a successful career in real estate. For Dr. Sadeli is in Southeast Asia. As you mentioned, basically local know-how, local knowledge and experience are good, okay, to have. And do you think local students would be in an advantageous position in real estate market in Southeast Asia?
Oh, for sure. I think local knowledge and local context definitely critical in terms of your real estate career. That's what we call it, a social capital. Once you build along those lines, definitely you have a better connections. However, that if you really want to equip in the real estate sector, I can say that real estate itself is getting complex, getting sophisticated. I think I mentioned earlier that like 20 years ago, nobody talked about data center, nobody talked about cold storage, nobody talked about like life science building. Yeah, that is like a new real estate sectors that just expanded in the past 5-10 years. Then I think you really need to equip yourself. Of course, legal and finance is a very basic knowledge, right? The certificates or the title that you own or the rights that you own, that is quite critical. But apart from the legal and finance that you really need to have it, I think I highly recommend, if you want to be a successful in the real estate sector, you must have like design capability, understanding the demography as well. I think since changing in demography, I think bring a lot of change in the lifestyle. So for example, that maybe I give you a little bit out of context, because we start investing into Japan in the past few months. Like during my days, 30 years ago or 20 years ago, maybe quite similar time with Professor Desmond, that people is common from home to office, like 1.5 hours, 2 hours. So commute one way, 1.5 hours, 2 hours is quite common. But if you study the younger generations, they don't want to do like that. Maximum maybe door to door is like 45 minutes. That's why that, co-living, built to rent, multifamily is getting popular, not only in in Japan or America, but also in like place like Singapore. That people, they don't want to spend so much time in transportations. So meaning that demography trend, is quite critical if you really want to catch the real estate trend. Then last but not least is the technology. The AI adoption, I believe that is getting more and more relevant to the real estate. Yeah. So design capability, demographic trend, and the technology understanding, that's definitely, I think, will help you to have a successful career in real estate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadeli. So basically, local know-how definitely will be valuable. And if you are not local, and you have to pay attention to your surrounding, okay, the city, the country you're currently at, and try to understand, re-experience it, and actually get insight that may be applicable back in your home country or back in like Indonesia or Southeast Asia. Okay, you hold a different kind of ticket to enter the market. And actually, there's a follow-up question on that. Students experience that when they're looking for a job in the real estate market, usually property developers or property managers are requiring certain years of experience, like 2, 3 years of experience. So how fresh graduate can actually enter the market in what capacity? Dr. Sadei?
Yeah, maybe number one, join CUHK. That's really the fastest way to learn.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day, once you want to get exposure, the best is, of course, if you can get the good mentor. Once you have a good mentor, then will help you to facilitate in terms of the connections and all those things. Even that you can join, like organization, associations. But during my early days, when I tried to, I spent like 12 years with EY before I joined the real estate sector. Then, the best way to learn back then, I attend like investor presentations, especially, like China, Hong Kong, the capital market is already established. Then if you really want to understand the market well, you join the investor presentations, since this is all pretty much all public company, public informations, right? Then you learn this, CFO talk, you learn this investor relation talk, then you try to learn those phrases, So what is the, price per, whatever, price per square meters, price per square foot, plot ratio, setback, whatever, that's the learn about the real estate terminology. That's perhaps helped me a lot, to understand the real estate terms. Then you have also the real estate connections, because once in that room, you know that a lot of what you call it, like investors or the prospective investors, interested in the real estate companies. Yeah. Then apart from that, I think that join the organizations and becoming the members, talk with the real estate people, real estate agents. One of the way that to connect with those real estate people.
Okay, it's a good advice. So later on, we are also going to discuss how to establish a professional network in this space. So thank you, Dr. Sadeli. And in this industry, I just realized we have Dr. Sadeli spending quite a number of years at EY. Okay, and Mr. Wong actually began his career at KPMG, also accounting, and then Professor Zhang also got a number of years in accounting with some expertise in accounting. So I'm just trying to understand, okay, for students aspiring to enter the real estate sector and actually taking up finance roles, what are the skills and experiences that would be as essential, especially for their success in Hong Kong and mainland China? Mr. Wong, can you start first?
I think basically a mix of technical and market specific skills are crucial. So you need to master the financial modeling and analysis, such as the cost modeling, and then you at least you have to know, the rental yield, how high is the rental yield, and the IRR analysis, ROE analysis, return on equity, return on investment. So those basic project appraisal skill for investment side. For the finance side, you need to understand, I mean, at least, so what's the finance cost right now, local in Hong Kong, in PLC or Southeast Asia? You have to know that the finance cost, because if we build a, if we construct a building, it's always associated with the bank loan. So you have to understand uh, how much cost we are paying for the to obtain the funding. And secondly, for the investment side, you have to uh, get an understanding of the population and location, so that you don't do a wrong investment. So finally, I think study some local regulation like tax regulation, and just like Desmond said, three red lines. You have to at least get some understanding on that to begin the career. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Professor Zhang, anything to add?
Yes, so I totally agree. So I think at school, at a good school like SMU, CHK, you focus on real estate, finance, accounting. You learned the basic quant skills. I think for a real estate person, that's very important, especially in the NS role, right? Like Mr. Wong was saying, something like DCF, we always try to emphasize on evaluation, methodologies. These are the things that are kind of like a real estate essentials, right? And besides that, I also agree that you need to actually understand the market. I think one thing I learned from students is that many students, even if they're good students and they ace the exam, sometimes they don't read the news enough. Sorry to say, you need to actually be in touch with the market. For example, as Mr. Wong was saying, know what the rates are, know what the regulations are, know what's happening recently in the real estate space, such as, well, news about the New World, K11 Mall, things like that. If you want to target, let's say, get a job in Hong Kong, these are the news that you would know, right? So the news part, it would be more like specific, right? But interest rate would be more like a global phenomenon. These are the things that I think that applies to all the Asian countries as well. So that's basically the hard skill, the market skill, as well as the soft skill. So I think I want to add on one more skills is that I also think that students nowadays they need better soft skills. After real estate is still a people business, and never forget that. Okay, you need to be presentable. You need to be able to communicate with the business world. And how do you get that? I think this part is more like proactive and also depending on the help of your career advisors at school. So basically, we try to offer a lot of opportunities, and I'm sure SMU is doing the same thing like tonight with the Career Center, right? Try to grab these opportunities and try to land on internships before you even go onto the job market. So in your year two, year three, you can start working on internship. If you're interested in real estate, there are different firms you can pursue, right? For example, JLCBRE, like the brokerage or the developers. To be honest, developers may be more difficult because they don't have as many internship positions, but you can always find something quite related. For example, hotels, they hire a lot of interns. So that's one way for you to actually learn about a very specific real estate sector, which is a hotel investment space, right? So there are always opportunities, and I think students should be proactive to grab those opportunities so that they can get the experience before they even get onto the job market.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Sadeli, you mentioned technology a few times. I think such as like big data, AI, etc. So how do you you describe, okay, what students with or without a major in real estate should learn to use data or AI in order to facilitate them to enter the career.
Oh, now I think there are a lot of vocational schools. Yeah, you can take certificates. I think within like 4 to 6 months. Yeah, even that, I always recommend to the team under me that you should equip yourself, I think, with the latest development. There are a lot of courses that you can take it, even that online course. If I'm not mistaken, SMU also offer the same course as well. And then you can really speed up your understanding about the technology adoptions within like 4 or 6 months online course. Because without the reason that I really emphasize those technology adoption, because at the end of the day, to understand the customer experience, the customer journey, it is much easier, especially through like digital marketing platform. You're talking about the app, the super app, that's really can help. Yeah, without understanding the technology, I think we are definitely really lag behind. I think we see that really the technology adoption in China, I think, helps a lot, yeah, for the understanding the consumer journey, and you can personalize even the consumer journey, consumer experience, and that's really, I think, becoming quite a critical skill, yeah, for you to succeed.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sadeli. Meaning that, in fact, when we look at real estate as an industry, so many students may misunderstand that, okay, real estate is about building, it's about design, it's about engineering. But in fact, like Dr. Sadeli mentioned, basically it's the whole thing. Is you have buying and selling, you have touch point, you have interface, you have digital marketing, you have everything, your communication. So basically, in all experts, technology like big data, AI, etc., can actually help you do a better job. So basically, it's not only the real estate thing. It's actually anything related to real estate as a company or job function. If you embrace technology, you can do a better job,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Wong, from the practitioner point of view, so do you see the real estate sector is actually benefiting or leveraging technology like big data and AI in Hong Kong?
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, myself, um, I draft an email to the board of director. Like, if I don't have AI, I need like 3 hours to draft it. But now it's like 15 minutes. So it increased the productivity, definitely. And then well, I think the AI and then data thing is more like the sales side. Like we what's the targeted customers, and then we can search the big data, and then we can use AI matching to do the sales to improve the efficiencies of the sales side. So that's basically uh, how AI could help us.
Thank you. Professor Zhang, so at CHK, for real estate students, I understand that they actually have the choice to take any related or not so related courses beyond real estate, right? Beyond business school even. If they want to learn, big data, they want to learn AI, they want to learn Python, etc., they can take some computer science courses. So are you advising your students to do, particularly some courses or some programs to learn some skills?
I think down the road is going to get more and more important. I think at this point, uh, I would advise students still to have at least some knowledge, right? Especially on data analytics. If some students want to go into valuation, I think that could be quite useful because now they do a lot of ABM models. So those areas, I think they would rely more on AI. Some areas are slightly better at this moment. meaning that it's not as advanced. For example, if you go back to brokerage, leasing, I think they rely less, but I think this is a trend down the road, right? If you are planning as a student to have a 40 years careers down the road, I think this is something that you need to have. And also, like Mr. Wong was saying, it also makes your life much easier with or without going for a job evaluation. But one thing I want to highlight is be careful with the AI. When we use AI, we need to use it ethically. So, for example, if we drop an email, we cannot just ask AI to do the whole thing. I think is treat AI as your assistant to help to make things better instead of asking AI to copy things from other people so that you can use it.
Yeah. Use AI one responsibly. I always teach my students, okay, you ask the right question and then spot the wrong answers in using AI. You can't just trust, okay? But that already is like I describe AI as you have an assistant in your pocket. Okay, and therefore, anytime you think of something you can use, but you have to use it responsibly and carefully. All right, so I think I would like to ask one more question before we address the questions from the student. So I think it's very important, not only students, some of the participants are practitioners. So if you have any key takeaway for tonight, okay, anyone who aspire to develop a career in real estate, in Southeast Asia, in mainland China, in Hong Kong, etc. So what would be the one thing that you would think, okay, every night spend 10 minutes on? Dr. Sadeli, can we start with you?
I think probably I want to start with real estate is a very long-term business. Yeah. So you really need to be like a marathon players. This is totally different like a trading business or like fast-moving consumer goods, you know. So once, you know, you build something, you build it from scratch, then, you know, it takes years to build. And of course, you know, if you want to reposition later on, it's not as straightforward. So I think my always recommendations, you know, for people who really want to be heavily involved in the real estate, you must have really a long-term horizon because you know, this is not like something that you can easily switch here and there. Yeah, then you must have like a deep thought, understanding the, you know, the market, you know, must have the real ideas, and at the end of the day you really need to have the a clear objective what you really want to achieve, because to build something, especially when you talk about big mixed use projects, you know, then of course it takes like maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, you know, to build it. Then you cannot really just only like a simple then just go. Yeah, you know, a lot of things that really to put into the attention. Then of course, yeah, when you really want to build it, then a lot of things to consider before you move forward. Yeah, including the budget as well. Yeah, because, you know, it can be easily that, you know, over budget, you know, in the next few years. Then if you don't have a financial capability to complete it, then, you know, from dream project becoming a nightmare project then easily. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sadeli. So to summarize, to train yourself to become a marathoner. So it's not like FMCG. Okay, in my old days in the FMCG industry when I was with Nestle, okay, you can try something for 2 days. It doesn't work, you kill the campaign, and then you try something new. But
Exactly.
it's not. Yeah, you can't do it in property. Okay, and therefore you will have to be really well equipped. You will have to have full understanding before you bet on something. Okay, it's not gambling anyway. It's really investment, careful investment. Thank you, Dr. Sadali. Mr. Wong, any suggestion for our participants? Okay, if there's one thing that you suggest them to do, 10 minutes every night, what would you suggest them to do?
I'll suggest them to read news. And for myself, I'm very interested in the price changes of the properties. Like I'll check the agency website maybe once a week, and then I read news every day. so that you have to be very sensitive to the price changes and the finance cost changes. So not only for you to enter the career, but also anyway, you need to rent a place, right? And maybe you need to buy a home for your family in 5 years or 10 years after you graduated, right? So you need to be very sensitive to your and very, very cautious for your own investment and finance costs. And that's not only for your career, it's for your whole life, right? And that's my
Yeah.
recommendation.
Thank you. It's actually quite very much in line with what Dr. Sadeli has suggested. But it's not only if you would like to build a career to be successful in real estate, even if you are only renting or buying your own property, you need to pay attention to the news. Okay, you need to pay attention to all the financing cost changes, property price changes, in order to really be able to make cautious and right choices. Okay, thank you. Professor Zhang, anything to suggest?
I also want to say read news. Since someone already said read news, I think another thing is maybe not 10 minutes at night, but I think 10 minutes you can do is when you go to school, when you go to places, when you walk around, pay attention to the real estate around you. Understand how they're there, why they're there, how some business buildings are with some other business building, some of the mixed-use development. Just enjoy the city, basically, but pay attention to the structures and the urban.
Thank you. So it's like you need to have the curiosity about uh, things that is related to your career. Okay, if you would like to become a successful practitioner in real estate, you need to be curious and familiar with the real estate around you, at least. Okay, not to mention that when you travel, maybe you travel to Indonesia, Singapore, etc., you also pay attention to real estate, the real estate around you, surrounding you, right? Okay, so thank you so much. So I think we can start addressing the Q&As we have collected. So the first question is actually in the chat box. So given the yet lowest point yet, so it's not the lowest point yet, the purchasing power of real estate in PLC in mainland China is still quite low. Can you think of any possible cures to the current property crisis? Any good indicators to look out for when it shows the market is actually turning around? Maybe Mr. Wong, can you start?
In PLC, right?
Yeah, in PRC. No, not in PRC. I think that is referring to the low purchasing power of mainland Chinese, which has an influence on the property price in both sides of Hong Kong and mainland China, I believe, because they are the main purchasing power of properties in mainland China and Hong Kong, I believe. So any cures or any indicators showing it's turning around, it start to turn around. I think this is an investment question.
I would say if you okay, so I think about the solution for the current situation, and I think if the government is going to reduce the tax on the transaction for properties, that will help uh, the to stimulate the property market in PLC. And but tax is very important for the government, so I don't think they're gonna do it in the in the foreseeable future. But then if they can use the Hong Kong model, it's like okay, if that's a capital gain, so you do not need to pay tax, you do not need to pay land appreciation tax. So for the property developer, I kind of calculated every dollar every sales we obtain, there's 50% we pay to the government, like 30% land cost. Okay, and remaining 50%, there's a 30% pay to government as well. So approximately 70 to 80% sales that goes to government. So the tax is really heavy in PLC. So if the government kind of reduce the tax, that will help the property market. But and also, if the I always say property price is kind of it reflects the economy of that place. If people can earn more money, the purchasing power goes up, and they will buy a home. So if the most important factor for PRC is export. So if we observe the export is increasing, and then I think the property market would rebound as well. So that's number two. And for investment opportunity, I think it's everywhere. So investment opportunity is everywhere. You can get a home investment property in Singapore and Indonesia, in Hong Kong, in PRC as well. But more importantly is how do you assess the profitability of that investment, of that asset? It's like, so if the rental yield is more than 5%, I would say the investment is okay. Because there's a sensitivity, right? You may not get 100% occupancy rate, so make it like 5%, or maybe slightly higher than the finance cost. It would be an okay investment to make. But for the developer side, I would say IRR must be higher than 10%. It would be better to have a 15% IRR for that single project.
Okay, thank you. Professor Tsang, any indicators that you think, beyond the export, as Mr. Wong mentioned, any other, cues or indicators you would suggest investors? Yeah.
Formally, we do need to look at the macros, right? Something like that export. And other thing, because of what I teach, I teach real estate firms, mainland, Hong Kong, etc., Asia. One thing I think that's an indicator for the Chinese property market and those builders is their inventory account. Now we still see, I mean, a couple years ago, we saw a huge number in their inventory on progress, work in progress. That was the time we have a lot of rotten tail buildings that are incomplete, unfinished projects that they have on hand, right? And once we start to see a big drop in that number, it means like the inventory has been either be complete and getting sold, okay? Then I think it would be a sign that we can see some relief on there. That's the macro side, right? Some of these indicators, like exports, like unfinished inventory, etc. I think the micro side, myself, is very simple. If I'm in Hong Kong, I look at Canton Road and I look at the luxury shops. Same thing in Singapore, maybe you go to Orchard Road or something like that. So basically, that's why I'm a little bit more hopeful, because you do see people are coming back to buy these luxury items. And I think that's also going back to all the comments about purchasing power, basically, right? And that's a good sign if you do see these people coming back and lining up.
Yeah, so it's the human mobility you mentioned before. It's like people are visiting, and therefore you see more activity, commercial activities. Those are signs, right?
Mhm.
Thank you. So that we had another question from a participant. So since all of you hold senior leadership roles today, he is curious, how did your journey in real estate begin? So I think Dr. Sadeli, can you share how did you start, and then how do you get to where you are today?
For me, myself, since I spent most of my time in Big Four since the beginning, then I think I cover a lot of industry, as my client. Then going forward, at the beginning, quite natural for a lot of Indonesians that, we like the natural resources. Because at the end of the day, we're a country with abundance of natural resources. Then we can say that, natural resources is a key competitive advantage of the country. But along the way, that I think that real estate sector interests me quite a lot. because it builds from scratch. It builds from something becoming, from nothing becoming something, create jobs, create wealth, and not only that, it's really, really, I think make a lot of difference in the region when you build the real estate. So apart from the value creation itself, we see that uh, when you're talking about the real estate, really, really, bring a lot of impacts, to the surroundings. Then for me, that it's quite natural. Then I try to find some opportunities in the real estate. Yeah, of course that it's not like a walk in the park, but when you see that the real estate for me that I looking into that can bring becoming a game changer for many people lives. So that's why that I spend, I don't know, now maybe my with cinemas is already 14 years. Before it's like what, 17, 18 years in the real estate industry already, and all as a director level. Then this is, to me, is quite rewarding and a lot of opportunity in this sector.
Thank you, Dr. Sadeli. So the interest, a genuine interest in the market, in your industry, is very important for you to build a career point. And Professor Zhang, the second part of that question is, because property developers are not hiring as many candidates nowadays. So would you suggest students to try to look for example, like agency or consulting firm in the real estate space?
From my experience, many of our students, they still can get internships at the big brokerages such as JLL, CBRE, Colliers, etc. So that's possible. Having said that, because of the market, it may not be as easy as before neither. But I think one other things people can think of is be open-minded, right? If let's say Shenzhen has no job, uh, it would be a summer internship. It would be a good experience for you to try other cities as well. If you're willing to move, I think that would be a very good experience as well as opportunity for you to be able to find some jobs there. And also, I think one other alternative is even if you want to work in real estate, it might be good to still have internships. If let's say you cannot find one in real estate, it's still good to find one that is in related industries. For example, accounting. Since we all kind of came from accounting, I think these experience would still benefit you when you go out on the job market if you have those internships, as I said, the big four.
Thank you, Professor Zhang. So the last question is also related, Mr. Wong, as Dr. Sadeli and Professor Zhang mentioned. So basically, I knew that you also began your journey in accounting firm, and then you were assigned to work for the real estate clients in mainland China. So it's like you really have to work in mainland China for a long spell of the months or years, and um, a lot of hardship. And you took it up, and then you embrace it, and then this brought you where you are today. So any suggestion or advice to students?
Just do accounting first. Do accounting first. You have to know the numbers, right? And if you don't understand what's the meaning of the numbers, like costing, like okay, so just a very simple question for uh for the south, what's the cost structure, and then how much money is gonna be paid to the supplier and then banks, things like that. You have to understand the numbers in order to be a professional real estate person. And the industry is highly leveraged. So any dollar you invested in the project, you can get like amplified return or losses, right? So right now, we incurred a lot of amplified losses, right? Because the sensitivity analysis is clearly wrong. Few years ago, like we didn't expect the interest rate to get so high, and then we didn't expect the sales deteriorated that much. So any mistake we made could be a milestone. You know what I mean? So I think the students who want to join the real estate industry, they have to be accounting. They have to understand the number first. That's what my recommendation. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just realized that I actually should talk to the Dean of Professional Accountancy, Professor Yang, and then ask him to send students to join us tonight. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it for tonight. Thank you so much for your time and also insight for the student. I think it's a very fruitful discussion tonight. If students or participants have any other questions, please feel free to leave us any question through this link. We'll try to address it later on. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Sadeli, Professor Tsang, and Mr. Wong, for your very, very invaluable insights. And thank you, Victor, for organizing this. We look forward to further collaboration with you. Okay, so thank you so much. Have a very wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.